If you're a graphic designer or brand designer working in Adobe Illustrator, you know that working quick in the software is beneficial. Not only does this allow you to explore a lot more concepts quicker and dive a little bit deeper into things you're trying to create, but it also makes you a lot more marketable as a designer because people want to work with you because you're able to move quickly. You can even design things on screen for your clients. I'm going to show you a handful of icons and marks that I commonly illustrate. These are fairly basic visuals that can be developed by manipulating shapes and paths, and ultimately using very simple tools in Adobe Illustrator to get the job done. So let's get into it. Now, when you do get started, one thing I would suggest that you do in order to kind of keep you really fast is to clean up your workspace. Now, you don't have to do this, but I like to see only the things that I'm going to be using on screen here and the things that are helpful to my process. So maybe there are other things and other little widgets that are kind of floating around here that you might want to close down, and you can go ahead up to this top right and save your own workspace. I've saved mine out as Kevin, that's my name, and I can always go ahead and click Kevin to make sure it refreshes and it just cleans up my workspace a lot more. Now, another thing that I'm going to suggest that you do is go ahead and turn on your smart guides. Make sure that your smart guides are checked on. That's going to make all of our elements that we are drawing on screen kind of line up and kind of look nice and balanced. So with that out of the way, let's jump into things. What I have here right now is just a blank artboard, and I'm just going to start drawing things into the artboard and moving really quickly when I'm doing it. And the clean workspace and the smart guides are going to help me do that. This first image that I'm drawing is going to be a lock. Now, we all seen a lock before, a really simple one, starting with the easiest one. So I'm going to go ahead, hit M, that's shortcut for my rectangle tool, and you can see that once I do kind of hover over, it shows me where the central point in my artboard is. That's great. I can go ahead and just create a square out like this, and I'm holding down Option because I can now scale it from the middle. I know where the middle part is. I'm scaling it out from the middle, and then I'm going to hit L to bring up my ellipse tool, make sure I'm centering it there. Again, I'm going to hold down Option or Alt if you're on a PC. I'm going to hold down Shift as well, so I get a perfect circle there, and then I'm going to hit A on my keyboard to bring up my direct selection tool. And what this is going to do, I'm going to zoom in a little bit tighter, it's going to allow me to select parts of this shape and just delete it. I'm going to select this point down here, and I can move this around. This one here, you can see that the white arrow is allowing me to just select it individually, and with that selected, I'm going to hit delete on my keyboard. I'm going to hit P, which is my pen tool, and I'm going to continue this shape down, holding down Shift to make sure it's a straight line. I'm going to hit Enter to finish that first shape. I'm going to continue this one as well. I'm going to connect it down here. Now I'm noticing as well, I'm going to hit Escape here. I'm noticing that I have some fill here. That's not what I want. I want to make sure these are linear icons. I'm going to make sure I'm removing the stroke there. And then from there, what I can do is I can go to my stroke and increase this a little bit more to a thickness that I like. And there you go. I can move this to the center and I have a lock. That's great. Let's move on. We just created a lock. Let's create another one. Let's go to our artboard. Add another artboard here. Let's zoom in a little bit tighter. This one here is going to be my house icon. This is going to be a bit more difficult, but not difficult at all because we're going to work really quick, and we're going to use simple shapes and techniques to get this done. I'm going to hit M, which is my rectangle tool. Again, I'm going to hover in the middle here and make sure that I am in the center. I'm going to hold down Shift and Option, and I'm going to hit V to go to my selection tool, and I'm going to go to this corner here, and then I'm going to hold down Shift to make sure that I'm rotating it perfectly here. Now I have a pointy part up at the top here. I'm going to hit A, which is again my white arrow or my direct selection tool. I'm going to use a marquee box to hover over that lower point, or I can use my cursor just to click on it. I'm going to hit Delete. I'm going to hit P, which is my pen tool. I'm going to click on this point here, holding down Shift. I'm going to hold it down, and I'm going to make sure that I am creating that lower end here. And there I got my house, but now I got to create some details here. I'm going to hit M, make sure I'm in the center here. I'm going to draw a little door here, over here. And maybe I can make this a little bit narrower. It doesn't have to be so pointy. I can hit my direct selection tool again, which is A. I'm going to hover over this part here, or at least marquee over it, and I'm going to bring this down. And if I wanted to, I can actually bring this up a little bit more too. I can hold down Shift and then marquee over these 2 points here, and then using my arrow tool, I can just nudge it up slightly. And there you have it. We have these 2 elements here. I can go ahead and just center this. And now I have my second icon. Let's move on. I'm gonna hit plus on my artboards here. I'm gonna create another artboard. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit tighter here. This next one is gonna be a cube. I'm gonna hit M, which is again just my rectangle tool. Make sure I'm in the center of this here. I'm gonna make that a lot bigger here. I'm gonna hit V, which is my selection tool. I'm gonna rotate this here. Now here's the tricky part. Once I do unselect this, if I wanted to maybe scale this out or something like that, you can see that it doesn't really do what I want it to do. So if I wanted to make this a little bit shorter, it's gonna scale really, really weird. Now there's a way around this, and that's just by using your Pathfinder tool. Now I know that this is just one shape, but what I could do is I can go to my Pathfinder tool and hit Unite. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna collapse it down. It's gonna almost like recreate a new shape out of this one shape. And now I can go ahead and scale it down like this. Once I do have that in place, I'm gonna hit Shift and Option, grab this same shape, bring it down to wherever I feel is appropriate, and then I'm gonna hit my direct selection tool. I'm gonna select this bottom point here. I'm gonna hit Command C. I'm gonna add that to my clipboard, and I'm gonna delete that. I'm gonna do the same thing for the lower one. I'm just gonna delete that point here, and then using my pen tool, I'm gonna connect these two shapes together to make one united shape. And then what I'm gonna do with that point still living in my clipboard, I'm gonna hit Command F, which is paste in front, and that's gonna drop it right in the place where I copied it from. I'm gonna hit P, which is my pen tool. I'm gonna come to this lower end here, and then I'm gonna connect that down. Now I have this nice cube. If I wanted to maybe make it a little bit taller, maybe a little bit larger, I can grab my marquee, which I'm gonna hit my direct selection tool. And I'm gonna marquee over this lower end here, and this is where I can start just nudging it down with my arrow keys on my keyboard. If I want to make bigger jumps, I can hold down Shift and move this up and down. And then there you have it. I have my cube ready. Looks pretty tight. Nice. Sweet. Moving along. Let's add another artboard here. And the next one I'm gonna be doing is my gear. Now this is a very fancy one. I think a lot of people like drawing gears, but it's not difficult at all to draw these gears. So I'm gonna hit M, which is again my rectangle tool. A lot of rectangles going on in this one. I'm gonna hold down Shift. So I'm scaling it from the middle here. When I reach this certain thickness that I like of those little spokes that are on my gear, I'm gonna hit Command C, Command F to copy and paste it in front. We just used that technique before. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rotate it, but I wanna rotate it not like haphazardly like this, but instead I want it to be very, very specific on the angle I want it at. Now you can do the math yourself. I've done this many times. If I wanted to have 6 spokes, I'm gonna hit R, Enter on my screen. That's gonna bring up my rotate tool. And I'm gonna hit 60. I'm gonna make sure I have preview on, and once I do hit tab, you can see that it shows me where that is gonna land. I'm gonna hit OK. Because I do think that that's good space apart. And then I'm gonna select this, Command C, Command F again, I'm pasting it in front, but this time I'm just gonna flip this. I'm gonna flip it horizontally. There's 2 ways you could do that. I'm gonna hit O, Enter. What it's gonna do is bring up this reflect dialog box, and it's gonna ask me if I wanna do it up and down or I wanna do it left to right. I'm gonna make sure I have preview on so I can see what's going on here, and I'm gonna hit OK. Now, this looks great. Now it obviously is intertwined, so I'm gonna select everything here, go to my Pathfinder tool, hit Unite to kind of make it all one shape, and then I'm gonna hit L to put a little circle in the middle, and there you have it. Now this is looking pretty good, but if I wanted to be a bit more fancier with it, what I can do is I can actually round off some of these inner kind of points here. I'm gonna hit my A for my direct selection tool, and I'm gonna select one of these points. What you're gonna see here is when I do select it, like a little circle thing shows up, and this is gonna allow me to round this off here. And you're gonna see once I am rounding it off here, there's a number up at the top here that says corners that I can see is rounding it off at a certain kind of, I guess, point size. And I can go to 5 here, which I think is pretty good. And I could do that for the rest of them. I did this for just one. If I want to do it for the rest of them all at the same time, I can select this one here, hold down Shift, and select all of these points. And as you see, I'm clicking away at them. You can see that these little circles are all showing up. And this is where I can go up to my corners and hit 5. And there I have a nice kind of gear icon there. Very, very nice. Let's go ahead and add another artboard here. The next one I'm going to be doing here is going to be a globe. Now this one seems simple, but it is actually kind of tough. The very first thing I'm going to do is hit L, bring up my ellipse tool, make a circle down the middle here. I'm going to hit V to bring up my selection tool. I'm going to select that same circle, hit Command C, Command F to copy and paste it in front. And with that in front, I'm just going to scale it, holding down Shift, so I'm scaling it from the center, and it's kind of moving its way in here. I'm going to scale it to I like the spacing here. And I'm going to hit P, which is my pen tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some lines here that kind of break it up. Now, I've kind of just dropped it in there, and I think that the spacing looks okay. If your smart guides didn't kick in at all, what you could do is select all of these. I'm going to hold down Shift to select all of them, then go to my Align tool and distribute the spacing evenly. I'm going to hit this here. And then when I move this around, I'm going to make sure I'm moving it to the center here. And if you wanted to test that out, you can actually hit you can hit Option and bring that up to see if it does meet the top and lower edge of that circle. Now I can bring it down again. Now you see I have these two little lines kind of hanging out a bit too far. I can now hold Option and kind of scale those in a little bit until they're hidden by that edge there. And there I have a nice globe. If you wanted to add maybe a line down the middle, I can hit Command C, Command F by selecting that first line, and I can rotate it. And there you have a very, very detailed globe there. Now I'm gonna delete that there, but I think it looks pretty good altogether. So the very last one here, and this is a very, very popular, I'm gonna add another artboard, is creating a cloud. A lot of people draw clouds, but a lot of people get kind of worried about the whole process around it. They're using the pen tool, and you don't have to do that. This is us using the Pathfinder tool and just dropping a bunch of circles in there. So the very first thing I would do is actually use my rectangle tool. I would draw a rectangle out here. I can actually make it centered. Get a little bit closer here. I'm going to move this to the center here. And what I'm going to do is use the same technique I used in my gear icon, and I'm going to grab these little widgets on the side here, and I'm going to bring them down. And when you see that turns red on those sides there, that means it can't go any further. So this is the roundness that I want here, which is great. And once I do kind of try to shape this out a little bit more, you can see that it does get a little bit more rectangle-y. Maybe it does lose a little bit of that roundness. But what I want to do is I want to have another ellipse here. I'm going to hit my ellipse tool. I'm going to bring this down until it meets the upper part here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these here, and then I'm going to just unite them. Now that is one way to do it. Now if you wanted to add a little bit more lumpiness to it, let's go ahead and just delete this one here. I can actually scale this out. And you can see when I scale it out, it still does remain very, very round at the edges. That's because we used our rounded off corners. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some lumps to it. It doesn't have to be ellipses. I can actually use rectangles again. I'm going to draw a rectangle here and another rectangle just here. And then what I'm going to do is, using my direct selection tool, I'm going to grab these two upper corners, make that circled, and then make this one here kind of rounded off at the edge here. And then what you could do is you could scale this up maybe a little bit more. I'm going to select these two areas here, maybe bring this one out a little bit more here, maybe collapse this one down, and now I could select all of these items and unite them. And there I have a bit of a lumpier cloud. If you want to maybe Command Z that, maybe bring this one down a little bit. Maybe I didn't want it to be all that tall at all, and I bring all this down, and I just add may I round off this edge here too. There you go. And now we have a cloud. And there you have it. That's my process in Adobe Illustrator to make things a lot quicker, and allows me to create a number of different logo marks and icons for product teams. I hope this was helpful. Please do leave a comment below if this was helpful. If you have any questions, I hope I can clarify that as well. And thanks for watching. Keep creating, everybody, and all the best.